Cliff woke to find himself sitting. At first, he thought he'd fallen asleep in his recliner while watching TV, a common occurrence. But when he opened his eyes, he was far from his comfortable living room. He was strapped into his chair, his arms held in place with leather and buckles, his head affixed with some sort of harness. The chair sat on a platform, and before him were several rows of chairs, filled with strangers, and their expressions ranging from stoic to loathing. Reporters stood in the back, their eyes fixed on him. Only one face seemed to show any sympathy, an elderly man in the furthest corner of the room, who watched in sadness. Edgar Miller. Cliff's eyes flicked to the side. The solemn man stood there, reading from a paper. For the crime of murder, you are to be electrocuted until dead. Do you have any last words? I'm not Edgar. The audience gasped, but the suited man only seemed annoyed. I'm Cliff Rothberg. You have the wrong man. We will proceed then. The suited man left the platform, settling into the audience. Cliff began to struggle as the generator buzzed. His body spasmed as the first jolt of electricity hit. As more energy poured into him, the stench of burning hair and cooking flesh filled the air. After the second round of electricity, Edgar Miller was declared dead. With a sigh, Dr. Gotham turned away. Dr. Gotham. An eager young reporter flagged him down, grasping Dr. Gotham's arm to keep his story from fleeing. Dr. Gotham, he said, speaking into an audio recorder. Your patient, Edgar Miller, claimed to have multiple personalities. In his last moments, a periphery personality seems to have appeared. Do you think this was real, or was Mr. Miller trying to stall his execution? The doctor looked the reporter gravely in the eye. I have made my opinion known, young man, on many occasions. I spoke to the police. I spoke to the district attorney. I spoke in the courtroom to the judge and jury. It is true that Edgar Miller committed murder. There is indisputable proof. And under this country's law, he must accept the responsibility of that crime. But he was not the only person in that body. He may have been the main personality, but he was not alone. The courts have decided that, being the core identity, it is just to pronounce judgment upon him, and that his illness has no bearing on his responsibility. Well, I say, Dr. Gotham said, pulling his arm away, that justice has been miscarried. It doesn't matter who spoke their last words in that chair. No matter how our society will try to justify it. An innocent man was executed here today. And that is the problem with multiple personalities. One of them becomes Jeffrey Dahmer and ruins it for everyone else.
Prisoner name, Stephen Yan. Prisoner ID, CD3. A18. Age, 37. Weight, 145 pounds. Height, 5'8". Eye color, brown. Prisoner CD3. A18 was approved for execution by Judge Wagner on 11/25/2017 after 2 failed execution appeals. 2 appeals for a life sentence were declined on 8/11/2015 and 2/14/2016. The court concluded that CD3, A18, was an extreme threat to society, an execution method HKM would be approved. An execution method appeal was approved on 3/22/2017, and the final execution method would be changed to the lower level WKX. Execution took place on 11/25/2017. The prisoner entered WKX at its starting phase of 10 cubic feet at 13:30 p.m. and would be pronounced dead at 13:45 at WKX ending phase of 0.3 cubic feet. The following is a transcript of the execution. 13:30. CD3. A18 has entered WKX. 13:31. CD3. A18 starts to examine the 4 white walls with his hands. So how are you going to kill me? 13:32. WKX set to 8 cubic feet. CD3. A18 jumps back from the left wall in a confused panic. 1333. CD3. A18 examines the four walls again. 1335. WKX set to 6 cubic feet. CD3. A18 jumps back from the right wall and hits his head on the left wall. 1336. CD3. A18 begins to get delirious and starts pacing around the room. 1338. WKX set to 5 cubic feet. CD3. A18 realizes what's happening and pleads to be let out. Change my execution method. This isn't right. I want another appeal. 1340. WKX set to 3 cubic feet. CD3. A18 in fetal position. 1342. WKX set to 1 cubic foot. CD3. A18 bones begin to slowly shatter. 1343. WKX set to 0.5 cubic feet. CD3. A18 suffers extreme internal bleeding. 1345. WKX set to 0.3 cubic feet. CD3. A18 pronounced dead.
Subscribe, or the executioner will come for you.